Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you showing up and being here and ready to jump in. Today's topic is an important one, CRM relationships. Now, this is an important topic because some of us think of our CRM as basically a giant spreadsheet, and it is so much more than that. The difference between a spreadsheet and a CRM, the first and foremost, beyond even automations, is creating relationships between those records. So I will go ahead and share my screen. If you have questions, you can put them in the Q&A. Ashley is here to read your questions and gather them for me. If it is appropriate to answer during the presentation, I will. If not, I'll just wait until the end and we'll answer more questions then. So let me share my screen. If I can just hit the play mode. There we go. So today we are going beyond that spreadsheet mindset, right? And for those of you who do not yet know me, my name's Candace Doriso. So here's my question, just get your brains thinking. How many different tabs or different apps do you think you have open in order to find every invoice, sales note, support ticket, or task associated maybe with your top customer or top client? Because if that is, let's say, 3 or 4 or 5, that's what we're addressing in this webinar. We are trying to reduce all these tabs and all these apps into, let's go into the CRM and go to a single record to know what's going on. My name again is Candace Doriso. I am a Zoho partner. My background is in marketing and sales. So our approach to Zoho is from a strategic standpoint, not just a technical one. And that is kind of the difference we try to bring to each of you whenever we have these webinars, is to think strategically about how we use these technical tools, not just how to plug a hole for a quick fix. So knowing that you might have, I don't know, 1 million tabs open at once, I want you to imagine a CRM that thinks like you do, where every piece of data knows where its relatives are, where my contact has a relationship to its company. My company has a relationship to all of its contacts, all of its deals, all of its tasks, all of its invoices, etc., so that I have a singular view and understand how things are related. When you go to start using a CRM, basically there's 3 important steps: plan it, architect it, and enter the data. So before you even get into this webinar, before you even get into a CRM, you should have a plan of how you want to use your CRM. What is my strategy? Why am I using a CRM in the first place? What are my goals? If you need help with that mindset, that's something that we help people with all the time. But in this specific webinar, we're going to focus on number 2, which is designing that CRM to match that plan and your goals. And of course, number 3 is train your users to actually follow your process. So part of the design, of course, is creating good relationships between records. As a great example, if part of my bigger plan, if I'm a B2B company, and part of my bigger plan in my CRM is to clearly define, let's go with finance. I know who my investors are. I know what they have invested in over time. I know the sum of all those investments, and I can track all of my touch points with them, emails, calls, tasks, you name it, by just going to their individual contact record. Or maybe it's an investor that has a company, so it's a company and all of its related contacts, right? That is our goal here. So how do I want that to look in my CRM, right? Like I said, the plan is, this is what I need to track and what my process is. The design is, how am I going to build it and structure it? So today's focus, very specifically, are 3 important things: lookup fields, linking modules, which are related to multi-select lookup fields, and connected records, which is a relatively new thing. Let's start with lookup fields. You've probably already used lookup fields. In fact, many lookup fields are default. So I've already mentioned accounts or companies and their contacts. That is a default relationship that's usually built into Zoho CRM. When I have a lead, my lead record has a person's name, their email, their company name. When I convert them, that lead record gets separated into an account and that contact, right? But by default, they already have a relationship. Oh, here's a company. The lookup field in the contact is that company. That's a one-to-many relationship. So lookup field is just connecting two records. One record is the account to many contacts, right? In a different example, if you're making your own custom lookup field, you want to attribute deals to the person who referred you the business. So if Mark is one of my strategic partners and he referred business to me, then in my deals module, I need a lookup field that looks at my contacts module. And as a fun fact, you can actually filter those contacts and say only contacts who are marked as referral, right? And then I can say, yep, that is Mark. And now there's a relationship between Mark and that deal without it being him being the client, right? It's a different kind of relationship. And when I do that, it's going to create a related list in his contact record, and maybe it's called referred deals. And I can show you what that looks like in the CRM. So let's do that first before I answer any initial questions. So if I was to go into my deal, and what's so funny is I don't know if I even have this in my demo account. So let's see if I've done this already. So wherever you see the purple text, these are lookup fields. That's something else just obvious to point out. And I don't have a referral person. So I want to add that referral. I'm going to click edit. I'm going to go edit page layout. Of course, the other way to do this is to go to your setup and go to modules and fields. But this is my quick way to do it, as long as the CRM loads quickly. And you can see I actually already have vendor support. That's a lookup field, right? And let's add a referral. There's my lookup. And down here, I could say referred by. Referred, if I can spell, referred by. I'm going to look at my contacts module, and I'm going to name this referred deals. Because in the contact record, that's what it will be called. And if I want to get fancy, I can filter the lookup and say only where the contact type, I think I have a contact type, no I don't, only where the tag is, I'll make this up, referral. All right, I'll use test, right? So that would filter and only show contacts who have that tag. I'm not going to do that right now, but I want you to know that that is there. I click done, save and closed. I'm going to cancel editing this because I don't need to. Very quickly, I'm going to refresh this. We can see our new field. A little slow on me today. Did I not click save? I must not have clicked save. Well, here's my vendor support. So if I want to look up vendors, this is actually looking at my vendors module. So if Anderson O'Hara is my vendor, oh, I put referred by down there. Silly me. Here's Joan, she referred it. Now really quick, I want you to show you what it looks like in Joan's record. In Joan's record, I'm now going to have a new related list. And of course, remember, related lists are those sections that you see on the left-hand side. That's going to show up right here where my cursor is. And it is appropriately named related list. Now it's going to be tucked all the way at the bottom, but if I want to move it up, I can. Here's my related list. And I can see there's the deal. Whoop. Or some things are going to keep on reloading. Here we go. Here's my related list showing the deal that Joan referred deals. How's that?
Okay, so in a single record, you can have multiple different lookup fields. So if you need to track both a referring partner and a primary consultant on the same deal?
Same idea as vendor support, right? So I also have a vendor related to this deal. And if I go into Anderson, he's my vendor, made that up. He has his own related list. right? Because it's two different relationships, to your point with that question, right? Joan's the one who referred the deal, but Anderson O'Hara is maybe the one who's going to help me deliver it. And here's my supporting vendor related list. Now, I can also assign Anderson O'Hara, oh, I forgot to add Anderson to this other deal. I can also click assign and also say he also helped with this deal. That's a different way to handle it, right? So now he's on two different deals. And I know this is not directly related to this topic, but you can at any point customize what you see in this related list. So if you don't care about the probability, but you do care about the account name, you can rearrange these accordingly. And you can customize those related lists. Or actually, this related list is high up, but same thing with Joan. If I wanted that referred deals, I can move it up. So it's higher up on the page. So that's a basic, right, lookup field. I think this is probably the one that we're all most familiar with. There are limits on lookup fields. I forget the count, but when you are in, if I go, let's say in the deal, it is per module, by the way. There's a per module limit on your lookup field. So if you go into your edit, it will actually tell you what the limit is. Really, I just want to show you where to find that really quick. I probably should have shown you that before. Sorry about that. Here we go. See how it says custom fields left? It's this tiny little purple thing. If you click on that, it'll give you the specific number. So lookup fields, I get 10 in the deal module. I've already used 3, so I have up to 7 more. So that's an FYI. If you're ever curious, like, oh, how many of these do I get? Well, it's telling you right here. So now let's switch gears and talk about multi-select. Oh, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
One more lookup field question. In a spreadsheet, we often rely on VLOOKUP, so forth, formulas to pull data between the sheets. How do lookup fields in the CRM differ in terms of reliability, maintenance, and what happens when the source record changes or is deleted?
Okay. A lot to unpack there. So VLOOKUP in an Excel spreadsheet is kind of the same idea as what is in the CRM. The difference is in the CRM, it's a record, right? So it's not just a row. It's a whole bunch of different rows, and there's a whole bunch of different related lists. If I was to change something in Joan, the contact record, it wouldn't change her connection to the deal. So that's the good thing, right? Once I've made that connection, it is there unless I delete it. Now you can also make rules around things like once this is created, it's locked. You can lock things. Or you can make a client script that says, no, you can't edit this or change this. So I don't know if I completely answered that question, but the short answer is yes, VLOOKUPs are essentially the same thing, but with spreadsheets, you're just more open to more error because it's a spreadsheet, right? You have all of your records in spreadsheets, whereas this, the likelihood of you editing that many things at once is much lower because you're only able to edit, one thing at a time. There was a second part of that question, Ashley. I'm sorry. I don't know if I wrapped my brain around it.
Actually, I think you covered most of it because I was just wondering how it differed in the terms of reliability, maintenance, which you just said it would be much harder to create an error if we have just one single record compared to all. And then what happens if the record is changed or deleted. So I think you did cover it. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. So lookup fields and related lists, that's what we're already used to, that one-to-many relationship. Where it gets more complicated and more interesting are multi-select lookup fields. So a multi-select allows you to have multiple relationships. That's many to many. The example I put in here, which is interesting, is like maybe there are multiple vendors working on this deal or this project once it's closed in one. So you create a multi-select field in the deal that looks at the vendors module. Now, my example in my account over here, this is just a regular lookup, but if I made it a multi-select lookup, here it is, then I can say, I guess I'll say vendor I don't want to do vendor support again. Vendor contractors. How about that? These are the contractors working on this. And I can look at the vendors module or the contacts module, or maybe I've made a whole other module for it. In this case, I guess I'll just go vendors, keep it simple. Field label and related modules. So this is that related list. So it's be like contractor on deal. And I'm going to pause here for a second and go back to my deck because there's going to be overlap here. So what this is allowing is for multiple people, deals, accounts, etc., to be related to multiple deals. That's going to be really hard to simplify. The many-to-many concept, it can be really confusing sometimes. I think a good example is, I use this one, but I think another good one is, I've worked with a coaching company where they might have 5 coaches delivering on that deal. And I don't want 5 different single lookup fields, but I need to know on that contact record that these 5 different people helped out with this deal. And so that's where this is helpful, because now I can have a related list that says these are the people involved in that deal. Now, the next thing to know about, and you'll see in my little screenshot here, what I was about to show you, is there's a checkbox and it says allow creating relationship-specific modules. That is called a linking module. So let's go to the next slide before I jump into actually doing. So you create these when you use a multi-select lookup field. So linking module, multi-select, those go hand in hand. This is like your middleman, or some people call it a junction, that's going to connect the 2 modules. The example I use here is just okay, but a prospect is interested in, let's say, 3 different real estate listings, and they want a tour of each one. And maybe they're going to put in a different offer on each one. So this is when you really need to think about, okay, I can't just have a single lookup, right? This prospect is interested in multiple listings, and I have to track something else. So the linking module is important when there's more to track than just the one thing. So you want to know the prospect is going to this home on this day, right? You have to track their tour schedule. So it's like you need to make a whole other dedicated record that connects the prospect and the listing, right? So you've got a prospects module, a listings module, and now you have a linking module that says prospect tours or something, prospect interest, something like that. And now you have a module in between that says the prospect is going to tour 123 Sesame Street on this day, and then you can come back to it and say, this is the offer they put in, right? So that's a linking module. And I love these because it creates a structure kind of behind the scenes where it also supports more in-depth tracking and reporting. So let me show you that. So if I click allow creating relationship-specific module, if you want to geek out, you can hover over here, right? You have 2 related modules. You're trying to connect it. The example Zoho always uses is students with their courses or classes. It's basically when you want more fields to track. So contractor fields. I don't know, that's a terrible name. Contractor projects. How about that? I click done, save and close. Get out of there. Yeah, I don't need that. Go back to my friend Joan. Go back to her deal. So let's add a contractor. My internet is not as fast as my clicking is. Bear with me. Yeah, it's trying to catch up to me. 1 second. So now when I click on, come on, you can do it Zoho. I think this is an issue with my internet more than Zoho, so I apologize. There we go. Now I can pick multiple. Right now, instead of it being a circle, right, a radio button, you're going to see checkboxes. So it's going to be John Smith, Hamill, and Lynch are all helping me on this project. I click next. I click confirm. Now all three of them are associated. And again, I can move this up because it's all the way at the bottom. There we go. So the first thing is like the obvious, right? All I did is connected them that way. Scroll back up, right? So we have all three of them in here. And I could see these here. And what it did was, and I haven't customized this at all, contractor project's name. It just made like a default module for me with the most basic information. So I'm going to click on that. And this is my new module called contractor projects. I could come in here and customize this. Maybe I want to have something in here that says more than just the basic information, right? This is really basic. Maybe I need to document what they're specifically doing on the project. Maybe I need a date. Maybe I need another lookup field that connects them to something else, to Zoho projects, to a work drive folder. So that's where I can come in here, and now I have this ability to further customize what I want this to look like. I can add, let's say, a URL field for document, folder. I can add a multi-select to describe their services. Project. Save and close. There's a lot of things I could do in there. We could have a whole conversation just on linking modules. But now, cancel. I can add all this other stuff here, right? So I could say installing the windows for this building. And if I go back to Acme Corp, and where is my deal? Oh, I'm in it. Now if I go back to my contractors, where's my related list? I moved it. Sorry, here are my vendors. So here it is. I can customize what this looks like, right? Maybe I don't need their phone number and email over here. Maybe I want to know the name. Maybe I don't need their email. Maybe I need something else. Documents, services. I can change my related list, and there's the thing I just added. And it gives me just a little bit more information. Maybe it's more useful. Maybe I don't need their website and category or their country. I can simplify this so that it's only the useful information. This is a loaded one, so I have a feeling I need to pause. Ashley, do you have questions related to multi-selects and linking modules?
No.
Just want to make sure. So if anybody has specific questions about this, this is usually one of those things that once you start using it, it becomes logical and intuitive. But when you first see it, it can be like, whoa, that's a lot. So that's why I want to make sure we pause here. Okay, let's keep going. Connected records. So this was actually a brand new thing that Zoho launched last year with CRM for everyone. So linking, this was a way to link your new team modules and your custom modules. As of, I think, last week, you can now connect default like organization modules such as accounts and contacts using this connected records feature. This is still relatively new. I'm still kind of playing around with it, but conceptually, I think it makes a lot of sense. So the goal is to help this basically improve insights and streamline your processes, just like all these other things are, right? So if you made a team module called product demo, and maybe you have a subset of your team that all they do are product demos. They're just masters, they're part of the sales team. And these are just your product demo team. And maybe you made a team module for that. You can connect it to your deal so that when your deal gets to a certain stage, you can, and I'll get into workflow soon, push a request to that team that generates a record in your demo request module. So when you link one, you can have it all connected. So it goes from deal interest, right? Product demo, and then it goes to deal closed one, and then it goes to your onboarding team. Maybe that's a whole other custom or team module. I have a feeling some of you don't know what a team module is because it is still relatively new. So I want to very briefly point that out. Here's the example. I made a team space called legal team, and I made some custom theme modules. Now, you know it's a team module when you see this little icon. It looks like 4 circles that are connected. The concept behind a team module is that Zoho CRM for everyone is meant to allow you to bring your entire team into Zoho, not just your sales team and not just marketing, right? So if you want to bring your finance team in, you don't want to overwhelm your finance team with all these different modules. They don't care about your demos. The finance team cares about who are my companies, maybe even who are my contacts, and what money do they owe us, right? So that would be the information. Your legal team probably cares about the contracts and maybe the finance. So that's why I made this team space that limits what they see. But if I go to the legal contracts, this is a team module. And so what you can do is you could say, only these 3 people can access this, can actually create records here. My sales team can see it, but they can't edit it, right? So it's giving you more approval processes, but also more transparency across departments. And of course, with connected workflows, which I'll touch upon in a moment, you'll be able to trigger workflows based on those connected records. I just wanted to talk about the concept of team modules before I talk about connected records, because it probably won't make sense if I don't touch upon that. Do you guys understand connected records, I hope? Because if not, this is a good time to ask. And it is overlapping, if I'm being rigorously honest, with lookup fields. Because what you've probably noticed, I'm guessing, is that suddenly in recent weeks, you suddenly had a field in all of your modules that said connected record or records. That is a new functionality that Zoho added not too long ago. And actually, did I hide it in here? I might have hidden it in here because I was trying to make it simple in my demo account. Let me go into Acme Corp account. I believe it's over here. I didn't delete it. I think I just moved it. Oh, interesting.
It was down a little bit. I saw it.
I'm like, I know I moved it because it was like noise. Oh, I don't see it. No, it's not in here for some reason. I was just in here the other day and it was here.
Records. It's a little bit more, but it does say connected records on there. I keep catching it right before you scroll back up a little bit.
There we go. There's my related list. So you can add a connected record just like this, like, oh, here, there's a legal contract associated, right? So this by default was already there for the past, whatever, 9, 10 months, where you could say my legal contract is new agreement, an agreement. Here's my related deal, open, 1, 2, 3, 4. I can upload my document, right? So this is related to contract management, but this was a team module. So the big shift is that now I don't know if everybody has it yet, but I think a lot of people have it, where you will be able to go into the organization modules and connect them to custom and team modules more easily. Now, if you want to do this connection, you actually have to kind of do it on the back end. So let's look at that setup really quick. By the way, it's also like the client requirements. That's another custom module we made. It's fun to make custom modules. That's easy. But you can also see even in here, we already have it connected to, by default, it's going to be connected to the account. So if I go into my layout and I go into here, this is my standard layout. We just find that field called connected to. Here it is, connected to. And see how it says multi-select lookup? That's going to mess with your mind a little bit. I edit properties, and when I go to edit properties, this is where I decide, oh, well, which modules do I want to be connected with my deal? And maybe I also want time logs. I don't know, I'm making this up. and account history. Now that makes no sense. Requirements. When I do that, I save and close. I come back to my Acme Corp and I go to that deal. In my related list called connected records, and yes, I'm sorry, this is a demo account, so I have a million of these. There's that plan I associated, right? But now I can also add client requirements over here. It wasn't there before, now it is. So now I can add client requirements related to this deal. This is in some ways getting around the whole need for a linking module, right? But the client requirements module is sort of like a linking module, if that makes any sense. This is a module that's just, hey, I'm gathering all the client requirements and these are related to this deal. They're also related to an account, maybe. I hope I didn't hurt your brain with that one. So connected records, this is live in all accounts using Zoho CRM for everyone. So if for some crazy reason you have not said the yes switch to Zoho CRM for everyone, you're not going to have this feature. I don't know why you wouldn't, because basically Zoho is going to force you into CRM for everyone at some point, but you should if you haven't. And then I just showed you how to configure it, but I put the instructions here so that if you want the deck, I can send that to you. And this is like the little GIF of like, go in there, click your setup, go to your modules, exactly what I was just guiding you through. I just included in here so you can look at it later. Now, connected workflows, that is where you start with a primary module. So we had our deals, right? And it should either be an organizational module, so deals, accounts, contacts, right, the standard ones, or a team module. Each module can have multiple triggers and actions. You can automatically link one module by creating a connected record or by manually adding it just with that plus button I showed you. So I click, there we go. I didn't want to have to make a whole connected workflow during this presentation, but I just wanted you to conceptually understand. So if my primary module is a deal, and when from the deal I want to create a case study and a demo request and customer onboarding, I can do that. And you can see I have my triggers. Now this is 3 different triggers with 3 different actions. I can also filter these and say only when the deal stage is this, only when this other thing is that. But basically for each trigger, a connected record is automatically created for you. And this is like that powerful, oh, reduce my work. I don't want to have to say, go do customer onboarding and manually type in all this stuff. I want you to create that customer onboarding record for me and notify that team, this deal is closed to 1. Hey, go do customer onboarding. Here's a due date based on the deal closing.
Okay, so question. Regarding like the sales process trigger example there, can we set conditional logic so that an onboarding request per se is only created if the deal is closed 1 rather than every time the record is updated?
Yes, yes. So this, in this example, and this is just a screenshot, I could say updated and I can add criteria to it. It's just like a regular workflow in that way. It is visually more appealing in all fairness. But what I like about it is you can trigger different actions in different modules as long as you have created that relationship between those modules. So you can have different criteria, different actions. What's cool about this, going back to the very beginning of this presentation, I talked about have a plan for your CRM. What is your sales process, right? If your sales process is when a deal is closed in 1, I need to trigger this at this point, that, and then this, then you could use a connected workflow to do that. And it satisfies all of those needs. It's pretty cool and kind of exciting, honestly. Well, hey, thank you all so much for being here. I really appreciate you being here. And even the people who couldn't be here today. I know there's a lot of people who just needed the recording because they couldn't attend. I appreciate your time. Feel free to call or email me if you have follow-up questions, and I will send out the recording. Have a great rest of your day.